Why is real world data so important when evaluating GLP-1 therapy? We could just go back around in a circle. Dr. G, how about you?
I was very intrigued by how you framed that, and you mentioned it so many times in our prep for this with real world data, because as and I look at that as compared to what would be clinically peer reviewed data, which is much very much driven by big pharma. And big pharma introduced these drugs, and they were really to treat people who were already, as I said earlier, into that disease inflammatory spectrum. And I think that the way that I look at this is that you really don't want someone to get into that category, because once you have had a significant weight gain, even once in your life, you're at risk for that for the rest of your life. And once you're into that obese category, it's really very hard to get out of it. And big pharma is very motivated to get people into that chronic disease wheel, from if you're obese to then diabetes to heart disease to fatty liver disease. And I think that my focus is really keeping people out of that area, and there's the exact same health benefits I think that can be gained, and even much more than for someone who is obese.
Mhm. Um, and Kelly and Dr. O, yeah, why is real world data so important when evaluating GLP-1 therapy?
I think Kelly and I come at it from a slightly different perspective just because we're working with people outside of their clinic or where they're getting it prescribed. And what we see a lot, especially in Instagram DMs, is people who have gone on the medication for weight loss, have taken themselves off the medication because they reached their goals or had side effects that were intolerable to them for some reason, and they've gained back the weight very, very quickly. And then they reach out to us for help to get the weight back off. And I think that's a really important part of it, where we shouldn't necessarily be telling people, you have to stay on this medication forever. Obviously, diabetes, different story, but when it's for weight loss, but you do need a plan. You need to come up with a way to make sure that if you come off or you wean to a maintenance dose, that you're doing it in a way that's going to be sustainable and not just throw away everything that you worked so hard for.
Can I weigh in on that?
Absolutely.
Um, since we're talking about real world data, been doing this for almost 4 years now, and 93% of my patients who've reached their target weight are still opting to stay on medication. And I was really actually shocked by that because I thought that people were going to want to get there. They changed habits because, again, this is not rapid weight loss, it's real weight loss. And so my patients lose about a half a pound to, maximally 2 pounds a week. So this is, if someone's losing a pound a week, I'm really, really happy with that rate. So it's not rapid weight loss, but there's so many other benefits from, I was just surprised by them talking about the reduced food noise, and they're so afraid, particularly if they're losing, 20, 30 pounds plus, that of regaining that weight, that they're just opting to stay on a lower dose. And so we're managing getting them onto the lowest dose that's sustainable. Um, but I was very, very, very surprised with that. But 93% are opting to stay on some dose.